am going to read. Okay, I am going to read a fable with you. Okay, let me go back with this. Okay, the title of this one is The Lioness. Okay, the Lioness. Excuse me, the Lioness. Okay, let me go back with this because I noticed that something happened here. Okay, okay. It's the lioness, and it says, once some of the animals and some of the birds got together to compare the size of their families. It is normal, and it happens in our families. Hey, how many kids do you have? Hey, how many grandson, granddaughters you have? Once some of the animals and some of the birds got together to compare the size of their family. Here, people, we have our first character. The lark spoke first. She said she had 5 eggs in her nest, and anyone who didn't believe her could go and count them. Exactly. Because the lark is a verb and she's honest, or say, and she's telling the people, okay, I have 5 eggs. Then we have the other character, the wood mouse. The wood mouse was next. And he says, hey, that is nothing to speak of. She squeaked. I have 8 little ones, and I am expecting 8 more in another week or 2. Imagine what a big family, you know? And here, people, for example, you are teaching the kids something, vocabulary, you know? For example, we're talking about animals. We have the lark, we have the wood mouse, and then we have the pig. And the pig agreed that 8 was a good number, but she herself always had a litter of at least 13 piglets and would be ashamed to have less. My goodness, what a big family. And now notice, people, how each animal is boasting, that I have a lot of kids. And so one after another, they boasted of how big their families were. Because it happens, we like to boast. And then we have another character, the snake. The snake believed she would be the winner and carry off the prize, for she had no less than 20 little ones, all wriggling together. My goodness. And the animals are boasting and boasting because I have, and I have, and I have, and I have. And then let's see what happens. As they were arguing, they remembered the lioness had not yet spoken. How many babies do you have at a time? They asked her. One, answered the great creature with a low roll. But it is always a king or a queen. And the message is, quality is more important than quantity. With these fables, we can see different things. First, as I said before, we can teach our kids the name of animals. Also, for example, we can teach them about mathematics. For example, we're using the numbers. And finally, in the model, we teach them that the most important is not the quantity. The more important is the quality. Also, with this, we can teach them, for example, that it is important to be humble. So we are living in a society where people like to show off that I have, and I have, and I have. I noticed, people, the reaction of the lioness. The lioness was there just listening, because Hey, what is the idea of being boasting that I have and I have and I have? No, people. The lioness was there, very humble. She said, only one, but it is always a king or a queen. And it is something that we teach them. Remember, it's not about the quantity because people say, okay, I have a lot of this and this and this, but what is really important is the quality, you know? And also with this model, we can teach them, as I said before, to be humble, to be simple, you know, and to respect, you know, because as I said before, it's not about boasting people. No, people, it's about being humble, you know, and you're able, you know, to appreciate what you have. Because in reality, if you don't have a lot of things, you know, some people say that, oh, because I don't have this and this and this, I'm not happy. Sorry, forget it. As I said before, it is not about having a lot of things in your house, you know, it's about having the most important things, you know, that you really appreciate. Okay, now people, I am going to continue with the second favor. Okay, the favor is the frog and the cow. It says here, a cow, you know, was gazing in a boggy meadow when, quite by accident, she stepped on a group of baby frogs and hurt some of them. One ran quickly to tell his mother what had happened. Exactly. Here, people, we have a cow, you know, one of the characters, and then we have here the frogs, you know, that are about other characters. Mother, he said, it was a big animal with 4 feet that stepped on me and my friends. Notice people hear the word feet. It is something about grammar. For example, here we can teach them, for example, foot is singular and feet is plural. You know, with this, we can teach them the irregular plurals. Big asked the old frog, how big? She blew herself out. As big as this? Oh, said the little one, much bigger than that. You know, now the old frog, you know, is trying to teach, you know, her son, you know, that she can compare herself with a cat. Well, was it as big as this? Then his went on, blowing herself out still more. And here notice people that the son is telling something to the mother, and the mother, you know, wants to be like the cow. Much, much bigger. Really? As big as this? She swallowed for the third time. No, said the little frog. The animal was so huge that even if you were to go on until you burst, you wouldn't be large enough. Okay, the mother frog made up her mind to try once more. Fatter and fatter and fatter she grew, and then, pop, she burst just like a balloon. There was nothing left at all. And the message is, it is silly to try to be greater than you really are. People, this is a problem that we have in our society. We want to compare ourselves with other people. No. For example, the situation with the frog and the cow. Obviously, we know that by nature the cow is a big animal. And obviously, we know by nature that the frog is a small animal. So the frog wanted to be like a cow. And then the animal died. So the important thing or the important message of this fable is accept yourself as you are. No matter if you're tall, short, thin, fat, whatever it is, you know, accept yourself as you are. Okay. Now, let's continue with the third fable. Okay. The other one that we have here is the ant and the dove. An ant, went to a garden pool to take a drink, but he fell into the water and almost drowned. Luckily, there was a dove sitting on a tree nearby who saw what was happening. She pulled a leaf from the branch with her beak and dropped it gently into the water. The ant climbed onto the leaf and it drifted to the shore. The tiny creature was safe. At that very minute, a man, okay, here, for example, we have a human being in the fable, but that human being doesn't talk, was spreading his net to try to catch the dove. The ant saw what he was doing, so he scuttled up and stung the man's heel. Of course, this made the man drop the net and the dove flew safely away. Here, people, we can teach them different things. For example, verbs. Notice, fell, the past tense of the verb for. For example, we have here, this one is an irregular verb, and this one is a regular verb. For example, here we have another one. For example, flew, that is an irregular verb, and the base form is fly. As I said, we can teach them, for example, vocabulary. Yes, about the animals and the dove, the man. Also, we can teach them, for example, the use of verbs. And then, little by little, we can classify them. Regular verbs and irregular verbs. And also, let's see the moral. One good term deserves another. When I think about this, it's not that I am metaphysic, but it's about something that we call a karma. If you do good things, you're going to receive good things. Notice, for example, how the dove sent the ant, and then how the ant saved the dove. Also, people, this fable is teaching us that sometimes we think that because if I have a lot of diplomas, a lot of degrees, I am the best of the best. And sometimes, depending on the situation, we don't know when we are going to need the help of a person that is less than us. I am not saying that I am discriminating the person, but it happens. And I always not usually, I always think about that novel, The House of the Spirit by Isabel Allende. The situation when Esteban Treva, was looking for her niece, and he was mad you know. Alba was the name of his not niece, granddaughter. And he was desperate. He had a lot of money, you know, and the person who saved him was Tránsito Soto. And who was Tránsito Soto? Excuse me the word. Tránsito Soto was a prostitute. And she was a person who helped him, you know, to get his granddaughter. As I said before, it happens, you know, and it will depend on you, you know. But remember that sometimes when you help a person, maybe that person is going to help you. And sometimes, believe me, it is not because that person is less than I, forget it. But it happens that that person who doesn't have your level of education, who doesn't have your degrees or whatever, is the one who is going to help you. Now, the other one we have here is about the crow and the watering can. For a long time, you know, for a long time, there had been no rain, and an old crow was so thirsty. Notice here, people, that we have the word thirsty, you know, and we explain to them, okay, thirsty is when I want to drink water. It's an adjective. That he didn't know what to do. There was nothing to drink anywhere. Even the stream had run dry. Then he saw an old watering can with a narrow spout. It was not full, but there was a little water in the bottom, and it what smelled deliciously. It happens when you are really, really thirsty. You don't care if the water is, you know, hot or cold. You don't care. The only thing is that I am thirsty. I must get it, muttered the crow hoarsely. But how? Notice, I must get it. You know, these words, or this expression, I must get it, emphasizes, you know, that no matter what happens, you know, I am going to get it. And notice, I must. No matter what happens, I must. The span was too narrow. He tried to reach the bottom of the watering can, but he couldn't. He tried to break it and then to tip it over. He tried to get lid off, but it was no use. It happens. Notice when you have a situation, you know, and it's not that you are desperate, but when you have a situation, you say, okay, wait a moment. I am not going to get desperate. You know, I am going to think and I am going to analyze because I know that I'm going to get it. You know, then he says, suddenly, suddenly, he had an idea. Notice, people, that we can teach them that you don't have to get desperate. No, sit down, think carefully, and let's see what happens. I will collect some pebbles and drop them into the watering can. He decided that will make the water rise higher. Notice, for example, here the word pebbles. So you explain to them, pebbles are little stones. He set to work. Plop, 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 went the pebbles. and the water rose little by little. As soon as he could reach it, the old crow opened his beak and took a long drink. For example, as I said, we have your papers. It is something new for them in the vocabulary. For example, rose, another irregular verse. The base form is rise. When things are difficult, one should use one's brains, he called. And he flew cheerfully away. And notice again, people here, the verb what? Flew, the past tense of the verb fly. And I said before, we can teach them a lot of things. Words, verbs, adjectives, right? And then here we have this, the moral. Great difficulties lead to great inventions. Exactly. The moral is that it happens. Kids, because they are kids. Teenagers, they're impetuous. But we, we have some maturity and we are not going to get desperate. We are going to sit down and we are going to think, right? So notice how the animal said, okay, I must. Then the animal sat down and began to think carefully because it says, I must. And it is something that we can teach to our kids, to be positive. No matter what happens, we are going to get it. And notice, great difficulties. Exactly, because the word difficulties here is a challenge. Lead to great inventions. And we see that at the end, the animal was able to drink the water. That the animal never, never gave up. And it is something that we have to do. No matter how difficult the situation is, we have to keep going. Okay. The fox and the raven. This is a common fable that we have seen, in our lives. All people who are here, they know about the fox and the raven. It says, every morning, a crowd of ravens. Notice, people, that we have ravens and we have crows. The crow, according to the definition, the ravens, they are bigger. A crowd of ravens filled the sky as they flew towards their nests in the tops of the trees. The oldest and wisest flew out in front. Notice again, people, the emphasis, of the verse, flew. Last of all came, here we have another example, a verse. Came, the past tense of the verb come. A silly, also, we have another word for silly, it's an adjective, because we can teach them adjectives. A silly young raven who thought. Also, we have another irregular verb. She knew another irregular verb. She knew everything. With this, the teacher can make a list of verbs, especially the irregular verbs, because those are the ones that for our students are a real headache. Now, a young raven. Here, the adjective young is emphasizing that it's young. And maybe because it's young, it's a person who has no experience. For example, the same situation happens with the girls. Ernest Hemingway says the girl because she has no experience about life. Looking around her, she saw a window open in a house below and a piece of cheese on the table. Wow, I'll get that. She thought and flew down, went through the window, and picked up the cheese in her beak. Obviously, it's normal. The animal is hungry. She carried it up into a fir tree. But, but, someone was looking greedily up at her. Notice, people, here we have greed. That is an adjective, but here is an example of an adverb. Also, it's part of the vocabulary. It was a fox. Remember what I told you. The fox always stands for cleverness. He also wanted the cheese and quickly thought of a way to get it. What a beautiful bird, he said, looking up at the raven. Hey, give me a break. Ravens are not beautiful. It's a very ugly black bird. The raven listened. What magnificent wings and what eyes. They really are lovely. The raven was pleased to hear this and looked down, hoping for more compliments. But I want you to pay attention to this. What a beautiful bird. What magnificent wings. And what eyes. They really are lovely. The raven was pleased to hear this and looked down, hoping for more compliments. I wonder if you can dance as well as you look, said the cunning fox. And notice the emphasis of the word cunning. Of course I can, thought the raven. She hopped backwards and forwards along the branch just to show him. The raven began to dance. But she still what? Kept the cheese in her mouth. It is such a pity you cannot sing, sighed the fox. I have never seen a raven singing, and in reality they don't sing. It is not about the lark or the nightingale. Yes, I can sing very well, cried the raven. Of course, when she opened her beak, the cheese fell out and dropped to the ground. The fox pounced on it at once and ran off into the forest. Notice here another example of an irregular verb, run, and the base form is run. Come back, my cheese, called the raven. She was furious, but the fox didn't answer, and the cheese had gone. There is something that I want you to see. What a beautiful bird. What magnificent wings and what eyes. They really are lovely. Okay. And also, okay, no. Notice people that on Monday, when I was explaining to you the literary devices, we see here one of them, irony. Remember people, as I mentioned before, we have three types of ironies. Irony of situation, dramatic irony, and verbal irony. And here, people, we can apply the use of the verbal ironies because we have here the three examples. When the raven says, "What a beautiful bird," sorry, it's a big, big contradiction, you know, because we know people that the raven is not beautiful. This is a sarcasm. But also people is an example of dramatic irony because we, the readers, we know that the intention of the fox is to have the piece of cheese, but the raven ignores it. And also, you know, it's an irony of situation. And as I mentioned, you know, irony situation, you know, is a contradiction. Not a contradiction, but it is something, you know, that we say, for example, a contrast between expectation and fulfillment, appearance and reality. Because a bird is, wow, you know, the raven is happy, you know, my goodness. This fox is telling me that I have beautiful birds. But at the end, you know, we see the reality. The reality is that the raven wants the piece of chips. And the same situation happens here. What magnificent wings and what eyes. They, they really are lovely. The same situation happens. Is an example of a verbal irony because it's a sarcasm. It's a dramatic irony because we know what is the intention of the fox. And it's an irony situation because it is about expectation and fulfillment, appearance and reality. You know, the raven is happy. Oh my God, he's telling me beautiful things. But we see the reality. The reality is that the fox, you know, the fox knows that the raven is ugly, you know, but the intention of the fox is to have the famous piece of cheese. As simple as that. And also people, when he says, it's such a pity, sorry, it's such a pity you cannot sing. Hey, give me a break. We know that they do not sing, and the fox knows. But as I said, the fox says, okay, I want this animal to open its beak and I will get the piece of cheese. And he did it. He did it. And what is the moral? Do not be, let yourself be fooled by flattery. My goodness, people. Flattery is something that happens every single day. When people want something from you, or when people need something from you, they begin the famous flattery. And you say, oh, yes, I am going to do it. And that person comes to you, you're a good person, you're my friend, and then what happens? The intention is another one, you know? Something that you can teach to your kids about this is do not believe everything people say, you know? Learn to believe in yourself. For example, as I said, the fox was very, very clever, extremely clever. And finally, he got his piece of cheese. And also notice the emphasis of the word young. You know, the word young is emphasized, you know, that the raven is young, innocent, and naive, really naive. And it is another word that you can teach them, the word naive, because the raven believed everything that the fox was telling. Okay, now people, let me go back because I want to see something else with you. Okay. Here I am going to emphasize again the literary terms. Why not? You know, for example, because in the fables also, you know, we are going to continue emphasizing the literary terms. For example, character. Someone who appears in a book, right? Movie. A representation of an individual personality in a fictional or dramatic work. For example, you know, the teacher, you know, you as a teacher, you're going to write a list of the characters. You know, you have the fox, we have the raven, we have the lioness, you know, with the snake, you know, and those are names of animals, right? In reality, people here, you're not going to explain to your students about major or minor, round or flat, or dynamic or static. No, no. Just about the people, sorry, about the animals, not the people, sorry, the animals, right? That participate in the fables, you know, is to reinforce vocabulary. Conflict. Why I am talking about conflict? First, as I said, a conflict is a struggle or clash between opposing characters, forces, or emotions. In literature, we have three types of conflicts that are man against man against himself, and man against environment or nature. For example, man against man is when the character has a conflict with one person or with other people. Man against himself is a struggle between opposing needs, desires, or emotions within a single character. And man against nature or environment is when a character struggles against some outside forces, another character, society as a whole, or some natural force. I am teaching this because in the fable, particularly in the one about the crow and the watering can, notice that the animal has a conflict. And he has a conflict with himself. The poor animal is thirsty, you know, it's really thirsty. Obviously, the animal says, my goodness, I want to drink water. I'm desperate. But then what happens? The animal begins to think and say, wait. I am not going to get desperate, you know? And he says, I must get it. And the animal began to think positively. Yes, Then he began to collect pebbles, and he began to put the pebbles, one by one until he was able to drink water. Okay, so it's a conflict, not against man, but for example, maybe against himself or maybe against nature, you know, because the animal says, my goodness, I am thirsty, but I know that I'm going to get it. And finally, he did it. And as I said before, it is something that we can teach not only to our kids, but also to other people who are learning English, you know, that life gives us ups and downs, you know, and we have to keep going. I don't deny, I don't deny that, for example, when I have a situation, sometimes I get desperate. I say, wait, take it easy. Sit down, think carefully, and then I notice that I'm going to be able to overcome the problem. The moral, as I said before, the moral is a theme. The moral is expressing or teaching a conception of right behavior. For example, in the case of the lioness doesn't like to show off. No, the lioness was there just listening, only one. But that one is always the king or queen of the jungle. For example, in the other fables, you have to trust, you know, you have to believe in yourself. No matter if, for example, the cow is bigger and the frog is small, hey, forget it. Okay, forget it. Then the setting, the time and place of a story or play. As I mentioned, on Monday, that the setting can function in three different ways. It can be symbolic. It can take the place of a character, right? Or it can be the determinant of a theme. But here, people, the setting is always the forest, the jungle, who knows, behind your house, you know, basically where the animals get together. An irony. Again, I am going to emphasize the irony here because the three examples of ironies that we study in literature are presented in the fable of the fox and the raven. Irony, and I am going to read the definition again to emphasize this. A contrast or discrepancy between expectation and reality, between what is said and what is really meant, between what is expected and what really happens, or between what appears to be true and what really is true. In literature, we have three types of ironies that are the following: verbal irony, dramatic irony, and situational irony of irony situation. Remember, verbal irony occurs when a writer or speaker says one thing, but really means something quite different, often the opposite of what he or she has said. For example, when the fox, the clever fox, the smart fox, the cunning fox, stole the raven with a piece of cheese to say, my goodness, this piece of cheese is going to be mine. No matter what happens, it is going to be mine. First, the fox, begins to tell the raven, My goodness, you have beautiful eyes, beautiful feathers. You can dance and you can sing beautifully. But in reality, we know that that animal is ugly, doesn't have beautiful wings, cannot sing. But the raven says, oh my God, I can do it. A dramatic irony. Why? And I am going to read the definition before. Dramatic irony occurs when the audience or the reader knows something important that a character in a play or story does not know. Because we the people who are reading, we know what is the intention of the fox. And the intention of the fox is to get the piece of cheese. But the young raven or innocent raven or naive raven in reality doesn't know what is the intention. You know, in reality, he doesn't know. But people, and finally, we have an irony situation or a situational irony and occurs when what actually happens is the opposite of what is expected or apprehended. Exactly. At the beginning, when when the raven listens to these beautiful things and say, oh my God, I am beautiful. You know, I have a beautiful voice. You know, the raven is happy. But then at the end, my goodness, what happens? You know, the fox told me beautiful things. And what about my piece of cheese? I don't have it. And remember, do not believe all the things that you hear. Sometimes it happens. We listen, okay? For example, in my case, when a person tells me about something, and I say, well, I just listen. And then I make my final conclusions. I remember my father used to teach me, don't believe everything. Just sit down and make your own conclusions. Now, for example, my final conclusion, about the fables is this. Develop critical thinking skills. My goodness, this is a problem that we have now. Critical thinking. It is not because I have a master in lit that I emphasize critical thinking. And this is the purpose of learning literature. I remember when I began to study literature with Professor Colomba, at the beginning, it was like, wow, it was heavy. But then, little by little, and now I understand the importance of the critical thinking. The situation, people, is that I do not deny that after the outbreak of the COVID-19, we are using a lot of technology because when the outbreak began, I didn't know anything about technology. And I had to learn. I had to learn. I don't deny that technology is good, but also, people, it is important to read because reading, you know, is going to teach us how to think. I want to share with you one experience. There is a lady that she told me that when she went to the United States to get her master, um, her master is in linguistics, but she doesn't deny that the literature courses that she took with our Professor Colomba helped her a lot to think. Because when you are in a master, you have to write a lot. And it's not about writing people, it's also about thinking. You have to read books, and you have to give your opinions. For example, Aesop fables often have a twist ending that requires the reader to think critically. And this is the idea, because we are teaching our kids to read. Now people talk about the famous artificial intelligence. Sometimes, my goodness, I wonder what's going to happen in the future. But we are teaching our young generations to read and give me your opinion. For example, in the fable, The Ant and the Grasshopper, the lazy grasshopper plays all year while the industrious ant gathers food for the winter. This ending requires the reader to think about the consequences of arrogance and the benefits of perseverance. Exactly. The ant was working as a donkey, and the grasshopper was there singing, dancing, you know. And when the winter came, the ant said, sorry, sorry, I was working and you were singing and dancing. So keep singing and dancing. You know, with this fable, as I said before, we can teach the kids, you know, the importance of work, the importance of perseverance, and what happens when people are arrogant. But as I said before, for me, the most important thing is that critical thinking. They have to read, and they have to read more. Because it is a situation that, for example, I work in a high school, and it's really amazing that I see the kids with the cell phones and cell phones and cell phones. I don't deny that I have students who like to read. They like to read, and I give them books, obviously in Spanish, and they like it and they read. But in reality, the majority of our young people, everything is a cell phone. But we have to teach them the importance of reading. That it's not about memorizing, not people. It's about how to give your opinion. What is my opinion? What is my perception? The same situation happened with the kids. Okay, what's your opinion about the ant? What's your opinion about this? And obviously, they're going to tell you something. You're not going to receive an excellent answer, no, but at least, you are pushing them to think. For example, number 2, increase comprehension skills. Reading Aesop's fables help young children develop their comprehension skills. The stories are short and easy to understand, making them an ideal tool for helping children understand the elements of a story, such as characters, setting, and plot. Exactly. Here, people, we are teaching our kids, okay, what is a character? And then when they go to high school, well, depending on the school, and they're going to start studying literature courses, now they have an idea what a character is. For example, if you mention the word setting, you say, okay, the setting is this. But when they go to the university or high school, they say, okay, the setting is about this and this and this. And also the word plot, they are able to understand what a plot is. But as I said before, we begin with easy things. For example, we teach our kids, okay, a character is this and this and this. We say, okay, how many characters we have here? I say, maybe one, maybe two, maybe three. Okay, what about the setting? That boy is going to say, okay, there is a tree, there is a house, and the plot. Then the kid is going to be able to give you a short summary, you know. But as I said, you are not going to put them to memorize. No, don't do that. You know, for example, I remember once I was teaching this to my students in Santa Librada City, and I did something. Okay, tell me about the characters, and I began to write. Tell me about this, and I began to write. Tell me about this, and I began to write. And we began to eliminate things. And finally, we had a final conclusion. Okay? The characters are this and this and this. Perfect. The setting is about this and this and this. Okay, and what is the plot? I say, oh, teacher, the plot is about this. And they were explaining it to me little by little. My goodness. Vocabulary development. Aesop's fables use a wide range of vocabulary that can be challenging for young children. Reading this story helps, oh my God, there is a mistake. I made a mistake. Children expand their vocabulary and become familiar with new words and concepts. It happens, people. It happens. Remember, the more you read, the more you learn. Vocabulary. And it's not only about vocabulary, people. It's also about writing. When the kids begin to read, their vocabulary increases. For example, as I was emphasizing, in the fables, we're teaching nouns, for example, the name of animals. We are teaching verbs, right? We can classify the verbs, regular verbs and irregular verbs. We have adjectives, we have adverbs, But the most important thing is about the vocabulary. Every single day, they're going to see a new word. And believe me, people, and believe me, talking about the linguistic concept, and it happens to me. For example, I notice that every day we have a new word, But as I said before, in order to get more vocabulary, you have to read. Not necessarily because I have a master in lit, no. But also it helps to learn new words, expressions. What about idiomatic expressions? But as I said, in the case of the kids, it's about, for example, nouns, even prepositions. We have some prepositions, verbs, adjectives, and some adverbs. Okay? And then people, we have the famous Aesop's fables and readers theater. This theater will allow students to read, act, and interact with their classmates in the classroom. Yes. For example, I teach fables, and I work at night. I have never tried this, because the people at night, they come from work and they're really tired. but maybe next semester I want to try this. They organize themselves and they're going to present a fable. Not necessarily people. They have to use expensive clothes. No. For example, they signed their clothes, you know, they can design the setting, you know, and they can design other things. And what about the kids? My goodness, they will love it. You know, it's really amazing to see them. And I had the opportunity to watch a video, when the kids were on a stage and they were really happy. And also, as I said, this presentation on a stage will allow students to read. Exactly. They're going to read how to pronounce correctly, act, because it happens. Some of them are like, oh my God, I don't want to talk. I have a problem. But then I said, no, you're going to act, you're going to do this, you're going to move your hands, you're going to sing, you're going to clap and interact. The interaction is extremely important. They're going to interact with their classmates. They're going to play with their classmates. But the most important thing is that they're going to enjoy this. Also, the parents, why not? In one way or in another way, like this. Because, the parents love to see their kids on a stage acting, singing, dancing, clapping, And believe me, the kids will never say no because they like it. So what about, for example, if you put some music, my goodness, you're going to have those little kids singing, jumping, and dancing on a stage. Okay, let me go back. Excuse me. And as I said, number one again, develop critical thinking skills. Okay? Put them to think, not to memorize. Because it is one of the problems that we have in our educational Panamanian system. The kids, not the kids. Some teachers put them to memorize. Memory, 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 and more memory. No, people, it's not about memory. It's, hey, I want to see your opinion. What do you think? Do you like it? Yes. Why? Well, I like this favor for this and this and this and this. For example, they're going to be able to tell you which is the most honest character in the fable. Who is the baddest character in the fable. And as I said, in that game or in that interaction, the kids are going to learn more. For example, reading. Believe me, people, believe me. Little by little, they're going to improve that skill of reading. Because we are the ones, as teachers or professors, that we are going to promote the habit of reading. And little by little, they're going to learn. Maybe they're not going to understand everything, but the important thing is that they're going to read. For example, as I said before, I decided to talk about fables, but also we have short stories for kids, very easy because it depends on their levels. And when they begin, they're going to read, analyze, and the most important thing is that they're going to be able to criticize. Finally, as I mentioned before, the vocabulary. My goodness, some people don't believe in it. But when you read new words, you will see new words and new words, you know, and then to be able to write better. Also, with this, for example, you tell the kids, okay, we have a list of characters, verbs, prepositions, adjectives, adverbs. Okay, I want you to write a sentence. And you put them to write. And you're going to notice that they will do it. Okay, I want you to write a sentence with the word cat, with the word dog, with the verb ran, with the verb flew. And as I said before, what about acting? They will love it. They will sing, they will clap, they will do beautiful things on stage. And believe me, people, believe me that they will do it. Even if you are dealing with people who are not teenagers, okay, you tell them, okay, tomorrow we are going to do this. They're going to organize themselves and they're going to do it. And as I said before, they don't have to get fancy things to be on a stage. No, they can design their own clothes. Okay, they get together, we're going to do this, you're going to be the fox, you're going to be the raven, and you're going to do this. Okay, finally, people, let me go back to this. Just as a final conclusion, okay? For example, about the evidence, we have Aesop, we have William Caxton. No, in real, no, it's not about William Caxton. We have Down, the famous Jacatas, and we have my friend, La Fontaine. As I said, you can continue reinforcing, for example, the characteristics, brief, didactic, the animals, the animals have no names. Number 3, okay, the animals, they represent aspects of human nature. The king, the lion is always the king, the fox is always smart, the sheep is innocence, and you mention other aspects. For example, with this, number 3, even you go to the internet and you look for information about this. As I said, for example, in the first fable, the lioness, okay, we have different animals. The wood mouse, the lark, the snake, the pig, and finally the lioness. As I said, fiction, because they were invented. Fables are just one story because it is only one people. It's one single situation. The setting, as I said, anywhere. Can be a house, behind your house, the jungle, the forest, and the most important is the lesson or moral. And not only the kids or teenagers, but also we, as grown-ups, we are going to see, the importance of the moral. And it is something that we're going to put into practice. Because, listen, if we sit down and read a book about Aesop's fables, maybe you're going to say this, oh my God, this situation happened to me. Oh my God, this situation happened to me. Well, and then people, to conclude, for example, again, the emphasis of the character, the emphasis of the conflict. Remember conflicts. Man against man against himself, man against environment. The moral. Remember, people, the moral is a thing. The setting, as I mentioned, the irony. For example, in the case of the irony of the Fox and the Raven, we have a verbal irony, we have a dramatic irony, and we have a situational irony or another situation. And with these people, believe me, as I said before, you are teaching some basic things that in the future, they are going to apply in their literature courses. And finally, people here, remember, critical thinking. They have to think. Cell phones are important, computers are important, but reading is important too. Increase comprehension skills. Reading, thinking, vocabulary, a lot of vocabulary. And finally, people, it's about the theater. Put them to act, to sing, to clap, and you will see that they will love it. No matter if they mispronounce. No. The important thing is that they have to act, and you are there to correct them. It can happen that the day of the presentation, they get nervous. Okay, it's normal. But the important thing is that they're acting, they're pronouncing, they're opening their mouths, and they're able to enjoy, and they enjoy what they're doing. Okay? So remember, people, fables, yes. We have a tendency to say that fables are just for kids. Not always, people. As I said before, not only I, but the other professors who work with me at the University of Panama, they also teach children's lit, and they teach fables, So keep teaching fables. And remember, we have beautiful books about fables in the market. The situation is that in Panama, it's really difficult to get English books, and especially books like this. But we have the internet, and you can download the fables, and you can make copies of the fable, and you interact with the kids. For example, if you're teaching kindergarten, or let's say first graders, you sit on the floor if you want, and you put them in a circle, and you begin to read, and they follow the reading with you. For example, in my case, when I'm teaching fable with teenagers, which is something different, I say, okay, people, we're going to do this, and I begin to read carefully, and then I explain to them little by little. But remember, people, don't feel afraid of teaching fables. No. And also, why not? On internet, they have some tips, how to teach fables. For example, the kids, they can paint, they can draw, and they put those posters on the wall. Because I like it. No, they're going to draw a fox, they're going to draw a cat, they're going to draw whatever they want. Then they're going to color it, and then they're going to put them on the walls. And believe me, people, they will love it. They will. And even with the teenagers, why not? They draw. They can draw the animals. They can draw the setting, whatever they please. At the university level, well, for example, we can do the same. But also, why not? A little play about the fables, that we are teaching. And believe me, they will enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see, do we have any question? Or let's see the chat box, if we have any question in the chat box here.
Okay.
Is there any question on behalf of the
Yes, good
participant?
morning. Yeah, do you
Hello.
hear me?
Yes.
Perfectly.
Okay, thank you, Orlando, for this information. I have a couple of questions.
Tell me, Lourdes.
Yeah, how long does it take to teach fables? Because we only have 3 hours per week. And the
Wow,
other
yes.
question is, if you teach the model or they have to figure it out.
Well, for example, those fables that I presented, right, are the ones that I teach, you know. But as I said before, Lourdes, I read with them carefully because even at the university level, some of them do not understand the words. You know what I mean, right? So I go little by little, you know, and then when I finish, I teach them the moral, you know. But as I said, I begin to read, for example, with them, emphasizing the pronunciation also, emphasizing the use of verbs, the use of adjectives, you know. And then when I teach them the moral, I say, oh my God, you know, and they're surprised. Okay.
Okay, and do you provide the model when you teach the fable or they have
Yes.
to figure it out?
No, in reality, Lourdes, I have a book in my house, you know, it's about Aesop's fables, you know, and I make copies, or now I don't make copies, you know, for example, I tell them, okay, these are the fables that we are going to read, and they go to the internet and they download the fables, you know, because now with the technology, you know, they download their fables using their cell phones.
Okay, thank you, Orlando.
Any other question, please?
Hello, Orlando.
Hello, honey.
Congratulations for your presentation. Yes, very interesting. And that suggestion that you gave us about using fables for theater seems very great, because sometimes we don't have time for other types of drama. Let's say like a play, Shakespeare plays, for example. But this is a very, very practical way to use the fables, because it's mostly for kids. We usually use them for kids, but that doesn't mean that we cannot use it with our students in our university or even high school, because we are like kids. When we are learning about or practicing a new language, or students are practicing a new language, we are like kids, and this is a great activity.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, honey.
All right. Is there any other question here? Any participant? So if you go to the chat box, there is the link for the attendance of today's session. Please go to the chat box here, and then you will find the link. That's very important because it's part of the program to complete the hours in order to receive the certificate. Okay. Do we have any other question or comment? There is a question here or a comment about the, if I'm not mistaken, is regarding to the code, Google Classroom code. I think that was sent via email, right? Please check your emails because that information was shared via email. If you have not checked your email, I encourage you to check your emails because that's how it's being shared. Is there any other question or comment before going to the break?
There is a comment. Hello.
I have a question. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, my question is, I love literature, but I have to be honest, it's very hard for me, you know, to understand some definitions and, you know, all that. But what will be the best level to start teaching literature? If that would be okay, like for elementary school with all the definitions and all that, or it doesn't matter?
Okay. Well, thank you, Ciris, for your question. Yes, for example, as I said before, for example, with kids, for example, begin with the fables, and with the basic concepts, for example, setting, plot, and character, with the basic concepts. Also with them, you can emphasize, as I said before, the pronunciation, the use of vocabulary, the use of verbs. When basically they go to high school, for example, seventh, eighth, in that level, you're going to start teaching them the concepts. For example, what is the classification of a character, the classification of conflict, the classification of irony. Because in reality, with little kids, no. Because with little kids, the most important thing is that we have to emphasize, is reading, pronunciation, a lot of pronunciation, right? Also, for example, there are some good examples on YouTube. For example, you have fables and you put them to listen to the fables, and at the same time, they're listening to the pronunciation, and they will love it. Believe me, they will love it. But concerning to the part of the other definitions, it's not really for children, in a primary school. Is sorry, when they're in the high school level, yes. For example, there you go. Okay, this is a character, this is this, and this, and this. I am telling you this because I have seen the books that they use in some private school, the literature books. And believe me, my goodness, they're very expensive, and the readings are like wow. So in that level, for example, seventh, eighth, ninth, yes, the teacher that is teaching those literature courses, it has to teach them, okay, the classification of a character, about a conflict, about motif, about those things. But if you're working with kids, don't worry, it's just the basic things. For example, what is a character, what is a setting, and what is a plot. Because, for example, if you start telling them about what is an irony, verbal irony, dramatic irony, or irony situation, in reality, they're not going to understand it. And also, the most important thing is the moral. For example, there are kids, and you teach them, okay, the moral is this, because in life, you have to respect people. In life, you have to do this. In life, you have to do this. Because also, fables, they teach us values. For example, to be honest, don't do that, respect people. Okay. Any other question, Osiris?
Oh no, thank you. Thank you for, to let me know that. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Osiris, don't be afraid, because also, let me tell you the truth. Now with the technology, because I don't deny that, some people say because technology, no, I don't deny technology is bad. It's about you, how you use it. For example, even on YouTube, there are some videos, for example, that they teach you, for example, what is a conflict, what is this, and what is this. And little by little, you learn by yourself. So don't be afraid to teach leadership. It's really
Okay.
interesting. Okay.
Yes, it's good to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Osiris.
Thank you. Thank you. I think Professor Belkis Aisprua
Right.
has a question, right? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, right. Not a question. It is a comment.
Okay, tell us.
Right. It is a comment about how essential it is, well, according to the objective, and thank for the opportunity to express these thoughts. While you were explaining the concept about critical thinking and how important it was for us teachers to teach reading and actually comprehension and developing the skills, especially critical thinking, and how essential it is our role as teachers in guiding them toward the development of these critical thinking skills. It actually would help us, and it happens even at our level, the adults who are teaching and guiding the kids, because in understanding or comprehending the holistically, let's say, the readings, the fables, no matter how short, how simple the story is, we're using it as part of a, well, like a vehicle to explain or to arouse we want to develop. It will help them and us also to read the reality as it is. And that's what actually critical thinking is, and not being delusional. Because most of the time, what it's being taught years and years over without reasoning if that can be the reality or not. And then we can then help and make an evolution, a development, actually. And it comes only through the process of thought together with language. So that's the importance of our role in teaching reading and literature accordingly. Well, that was just my comment.
Thank you, Belkis.
For those who were asking about the attendance link, is being shared here in the chat box. Do we have any other question or comment?
I'd like to have another comment. Now
Okay,
that the participant said about critical thinking, that it's thinking, analyzing, discussing, that's important. That's why reading, that's why literature is essential in this process of learning. I remember, I think that many of you, I remember my grandmother telling me stories, specifically fables. Yeah, in Spanish, but they had a purpose. I don't know if you remember any example of, oh, okay, the stories of, well, my grandmother said Tío Conejo, and she invented the fables.
Exactly.
But they had a purpose. From there, I started using my, well, imagination, because they were told. I didn't read anything. My imagination, and also the questions my grandmother asked me after telling me the stories. Okay, those things help me to be the person I am today, because I learned values from her using the fables. So they're very important. So imagine in Spanish, we use them, of course, and in English, we can learn a lot from them in learning or practicing or improving this second language. Thank you.
Thank you, honey.
Beautiful, thank you very much. And before going into the break, I wanted to bring a nice and interesting topic that you mentioned, Orlando, about readers theater. That it really caught my attention, because there is a video on YouTube that you can check, and I invite you to check that. That we organize a reader theater competition at la Escuela Normal de Santiago, and then that was amazing.
Wow.
It was the first reader theater event in Panama, and I invite you to check how kids enjoy that. And it was amazing to see kids reading those, short stories, but at the same time acting while they were reading, right? That was amazing. I invite you to check that. Readers Theaters Competition, Escuela Normal, and it's amazing. If somebody's interested, I have all scripts, the rubrics, the evaluation, and things related to that competition.
Wow,
So,
amazing.
Professor Marisol, any announcement before we go into the break?
Well, just the ones that you have to place on the screen. When we finish, just remember to place the comments on the screen. If you could read them before we leave, but just leave them on the screen. Just wanted to make another comment. I just read Professor Javier Villalba's comment that he says, literature is culture, and we live in a Panamanian culture. So we should use Panamanian fables to our Panamanian students so that they can get the message easily.
Wow.
What do you think?
Wow, that's a wow, amazing. Well, in reality, well, I mean, we can invent, you know what I mean, right? But in reality, yes, it's, for example, but it's going to be a little funny because using the words that the Panamanian people use nowadays, well, it depends, you know. But that's a good point, you know. but also, as I said before, well, we're familiar with Aesop, obviously, you know what I mean, right? But why not? We can try, you know, we can invent our characters and we can invent our situation. Why not? You know, and let me tell you, okay, it says we need Panamanian leadership. Well, I know that for sure. Exactly, because this is a very interesting question because we teach about English lit, American lit, world lit, right? And say, okay, what about our Panamanian authors, right? I mean, the situation is that the Panamanian authors they write in Spanish, you know what I mean, right? But maybe who knows that maybe in the future those books are going to be translated into English, and why not? You know, we can apply them in our classroom, you know. But concerning to that question, you know, about the fables, well, we can try. Why not? You know, and also it is something that our kids in the classroom they can do. You know, they can invent their own characters and they can invent their own situation. Why not?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, that's it. I think we can go to the
Any
break.
other question, Marisol?
No more questions. I just think that well, if you don't have any Panamanian literature, I mean, as you said, you can invent your own characters, or you can take characters from our culture.
Mhm.
Uh,
For example, look at the example that Hania invented. You know, her grandma used to tell about Tio Conejo and those things. And also, for example, we can think about the animals that we have in our Panamanian forest. The harpy eagle, you know, for example, I don't know, but we have to sit down to look the translation of those animals, el mono perezoso, el whatever, you know, but why not?
Yes. Right. I think
Or the
let me
iguana,
interrupt.
yes, tell okay,
Right.
please.
Let me interrupt here. I
No.
think that in children literature, there is a point, or even in, well, I think it is in the program of children's literature, there is a module or a chapter all related to folklore and then folk tales, then probably can be adapted to the regions and also the countries. So there we can have. But I think that fables are universal, and I mean, we
Universal.
didn't invent them. They
Exactly.
are part of a development, and actually the origin and roots of what literature is from Greeks. And that's something that should be used and apprehended as such, and not to be adapted to. There is a section to which we can then apply the fable development through the folklore of each
Exactly.
region and country.
Well,
That's my comment.
Belkis, that's a good question. I mean, that's a good observation because, for example, when I was teaching folk tales and fairy tales, there are different versions of Cinderella depending on the country. And you're going to be amazed. The Indian version, the Japanese version, I mean, it's incredible. And they have different plots.
Yeah.
Okay, Lucy, do you have a question? Lucy Chow?
Oh no, yes, just saying that we have authors in Panama that have fables, and one I remember that Carlos Francisco Chamarín had
Okay.
Tío Tigre and Tío Conejo, and I was
Okay.
just thinking that it might be like nice to translate them when we
Wow.
have these translation courses, maybe as a project.
Maybe. Yes. Why not?
Yeah, the department can have a translation of Changmarin's fables.
That's a nice idea. A wonderful idea. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you.
Hello,
Well, thank
everyone.
you.
Hello,
Hello.
Orlando.
Okay, Orlando, go ahead.
Hello, Joel, Lucy, Anya.
Hello.
Okay,
Hello,
do you have
everyone.
a question, Orlando?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, not a question. Yes, it's a comment. It's interesting to listen to all those intervention. Lots of good intervention, especially about Chiang Mai. Was an excellent Panamanian writer, and all of those interventions will help new teachers to understand really our culture and to enforce then Panamanian culture also. I mean, I am entertaining myself a lot and I'm learning. So thank you very much, Orlando, and all the
Thank you.
exposition that was given. I agree, and let's continue enjoying. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you, Professor Rolando, for your presentation, sharing experiences. And I know that, you know, this will enrich the way that we see literature and we teach for those who teach these courses. And of course, as an English teacher, it's good to, you know, learn a little bit of how the language is taught, and at the same time, learning from the experts. Okay. So thank you very much. And now we're gonna have 15 minutes break. And you know, it's time to mental caffeine. Okay. So see you in 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay. Okay, we have Professor Hania, excellent, Belkis, Javier, Rafael, fantastic, Julio, César, excellent, Ana Yancy, César. Ajá, qué guapos y guapas están. ¿Por qué tienen sus cámaras apagadas? Professor Sandra, fantastic. All right, let's start the second session of this morning. Lucy, excellent. We are gonna share with Professor Hania Bonilla. She is going to be sharing with us poetry as a tool in the development of critical thinking. So, Professor Hania, do you have the co-host? Are you able to share screen?
Let me see.
Yes, check.
Host disabled participants.
Okay, please. We need to give you the co-host. The host needs to provide the co-host to Professor Hania, right? And let's see if we start on the money.
Okay, I already have it. Thank you.
Facultad de Humanidades, could you please provide co-host to Professor Hania?
So that was the thing I was about to ask you, dear participants. Okay, right now we are a team. So I'd like to see you all, because this session is for, the whole session is for participation. This is literature, this is poetry, as well as in Orlando's presentation. Okay, so I think that the success of this session, to have it active, is to participate, because I don't have all the answers. I can have an interpretation, but you can have a different view. So I'd like you to feel free to participate. So to start, let me see you not to feel alone on this, please, because I just see names. The same thing that happens with our students sometimes. Yes. So to see you, because I know that there are people from different places. Yeah. Oh, be careful. Is somebody driving, please? Yes. Someone is eating, so that's perfect.
Right.
When you
Yes,
feel,
right.
when you feel comfortable, but be careful with the driving, please.
Thank you very much. Don't worry, I will be listening.
Okay. What about the others? Because there are many participants here. Maybe I just know a few, just a couple, or I don't know. Okay. Well, I invite you to be part of this. Yes, with your camera. And okay. So the first thing to do remember that the topic of this, well, the whole seminar is using or needs critical thinking. The whole seminar. So so here with especially with poetry, yeah, we need to analyze. So let me start sharing my screen. Let me see. Okay, so thank you for the ones who connected the camera. Good, good. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You shouldn't be afraid. No. Oh, it still appears that I'm disabled. Host disabled to participant screen sharing. Yeah, so I'm trying, but then this announcement appears as saying that Professor Joel.
Okay, we are working on that.
So the same as in, meanwhile that this is solved, the same as in with fables, it's the same with poetry. Depending on the level, we adapt the material to the level. Because fables, oof, we have a great number of fables that we can choose. And there are very easy ones, there are longer ones. So we just adapt them. And they are for any level, elementary, high school, university. I also give this course, children's literature, and I have an activity with fables, and where I use Ace of Fables, the famous ones, yes, and I ask my students to, after I have a model, I have an example that we all participate. And then the activity is assigning the list. I assign the list of possible fables, and they decide one they like. They cannot repeat them because there are many. And then I ask them even to draw. University students, I ask them to bring a piece of paper with colored pencils, and I ask them to draw what they read. The one that they select, try to portray everything they read there on an image. Okay, I'm gonna show you my example, because I'm always a model to my students. I cannot assign something if they don't have any idea how to do it. So I do it myself first, and then I show them the example. And then they have to tell the story with their own words. They tell the story, retell the story. They have to retell the story to the class, and show the drawing that represents that story. And they have to give me the message. What is the moral? The moral of the fable. Besides the one that the book gives them, I ask them to give their own version, their own interpretation for a possible message or moral, or even a theme, because they at this time they have an idea about the literary terms. So I asked them to write a possible theme, having a subject, a verb, and predicate, using one of the main ideas or concepts that we see in the fable. And they give their own, because they have to write it with their own words. That's I think that's the best way to know that the students are producing themselves. Because, in the internet, they find everything. We find everything. And now we are at risk. We are at risk with this artificial intelligence. That is the topic of today. We are at risk. So the only way to see that they are working, that they are thinking, is doing the activity in the classroom. So you see them, what they're doing. Maybe it's not going to be perfect, but that is the start. They need to get used to using this, because we are capable of doing many things. Maybe we haven't realized that we have that capacity. So the same thing that with poetry, that the first day, Maybe many of you were afraid. I was also afraid. I'm still afraid. Poetry is not easy. But it doesn't mean that we cannot write. Yes, I show you my example. It's very simple, but that is the start. And that is the way. We always start as beginners. We don't know everything. So let's relax. That's why I need you to participate with me. Okay, because we are equal here. Because we have a brain, so we can analyze, we can give our points, what we see, our interpretation, because maybe Lucy's interpretation is so different from Orlando's interpretation. And that's great. That happens with literature. And that is what tells us that students are using or are improving or developing critical thinking. When we think, well, that's critical thinking. When we give our point, that's critical thinking. And that is what we need. It's not, as Orlando said, Orlando, the speaker, memorizing. Yeah, memorizing is good. We need it because we need to exercise our brains. And we need to use them all the time for everything. We need to remember things. So memorization is essential. But we cannot depend all the time on memorization. So that's why it's important to read in order to develop our skills in producing, in creating, in giving our point of view, in speaking. This is not only for the class, this is for everyday living. We need to say things that maybe we don't like, that, hey, I don't agree with what you say, because of this and that. So all this is related, because this prepares the students, this prepares the kids, the teenagers, the adult people to think. And right now we need it in our country because of many problems we're facing. We are being manipulated because we are not working with the minds of our students to think on their own. Yeah. So this is very important, very essential. It's better to start since very little with our kids. Yes. And fable is a great chance for that. And also poetry. Well, poetry, the ones that I've selected, they're for adults. I don't know, certain age, but you adapt it. There's poetry for every age. There's poetry for kids. I'm going to give you a link that has many options. So you just adapt the poetry to the different ages. Okay, so let me see if now I can
You got it. You got it. Now you have.
Oh yes, thank you. So let me go to my PowerPoint here. Share. There you are. Can you see it? Let's see. Okay, I need to. Okay, well, I'll do the. Okay, here. Okay. I mean, there you are. So as I do all the time, I told you in last session that I like to start a class with something positive. That's important, to work on the students' minds, to motivate them. Motivation it's important to start anything, any class, because that may guarantee you that the students, maybe they're gonna feel comfortable, they would like to participate, etc., etc. So it's important to dedicate some minutes to have something positive and maybe discuss it. Remember, this is critical thinking, so we are going to analyze everything that you see here. Okay, so poetry as a tool to develop critical thinking and poetic skills. Okay, in other words, we're going to analyze. Okay, so the general objective is to apply literary elements on poetic devices to develop critical thinking. So what we saw previously, what we remember, relax, no problem. I know that this is very complicated or long, a lot of information. Specific objective to develop critical thinking through the analysis and discussion of some points. for me, it was very hard to decide how many points to project, to assign for the analysis. I have some of them there that I decided that I don't think we have time for all of them, but I'll try to have at least 3. Okay, so let's see. And this positive message here, don't be intimidated by what you don't know. Important. Don't be intimidated by what you know. That can be your greatest strength, and ensure that you do things differently from everyone else. Important to check this one, to think about this quote by Sarah Blakely. So I don't know, one short intervention, one participation. What does it tell you that you could apply to this session? One participation, please. Very quickly, because we have many things to do.
Really, teacher, it's really interesting. There are always things that we're afraid of because really we don't know. Especially when we are going to start, let's say, a new project or a new course. Really, there is some kind of intimidation inside of us. Yeah. So really we should have, as you said in your first session, positive mind, emotion that can be a good emotion, so that we can be optimistic that things will be going on the right track. Thank you.
Yes, this is to build self-confidence. Okay, trust yourself. I need to trust myself. So very good. Thank you, Professor Orlando. Good. So now you know, my dear participants, be open to participate and say whatever you the way you feel about something, the way you think about something that you see here, to enrich this class or this session. Okay. So, well, last session I gave you an activity that you have to think and give your point, whatever you saw there. Specifically this one, there's no frigate like a book. Okay, impressions about any participant, because you were supposed to do this last time, yeah? This very short poem by Emily Dickinson. There's no frigate like a book. A general view of the poem, because that was one of the
I was thinking, Hania, that we actually had this course with in literature in our degrees, and I was thinking that all this information that you provided to us yesterday on Monday, it was amazing, because I cannot really, I know they exist, but I cannot really remember everything. It's very difficult to know that, oh, if I see a poem, that's my impression. When I saw the poem as a homework, I was like, wow, I don't remember how to do this. How to, what was the problem? That I know it was one stanza, I knew that.
Perfect. That was important. Yes. Good answer.
But I had to go back to your presentation to try to see what kind of in the metrics. And I noticed something. We had, because we were taught, in my case by Professor, I think it was by Professor Colomba, we were taught to work in the metrics, but it was not, I think it was not by the syllable. It has like a special way to divide the sounds. It might be in syllables, but it's not exactly there. And I was trying to do it in writing it and doing it with a pencil to get the exact metrics. And after all those years, and I love to read poetry, I realized that I don't think anymore in terms of metrics. Because,
You
you know,
just break it
modern
down
poetry,
and see the message, maybe, the what you understand.
yeah, because, you know, modern poetry, they don't use anymore the sonnets and the alejandrinos and all that metric parameters.
Exactly.
So, but what I was thinking, even don't read poetry like that today, I didn't want it to lose that information, to lose that capacity of you know, identifying that it was an iambic pentameter or whatever. You know, I remember this, but you think it's important, like, to know when you see a poem, like, this is an iambic pentameter, or this is like, tell me.
Well, not really as well, as a maybe as a reader that you just love reading poetry, analyzing, learning what is the message is here. Okay, not that necessary, but it's especially with the poems that rhyme. Well, in fact, I love poetry that rhyme.
Okay.
I know today we have a different style. We have free verse, etc. And it's okay. It's okay. It's whatever you like or enjoy reading. But in poetry that rhyme, there's so much beauty. I mean, that just to imagine when the writer takes some time, because this is not something that you do it in, I don't think that in 1 minute, or no, this takes time. Maybe it looks so simple, so short, but we cannot imagine how many hours this person could have spent in thinking, having things that rhyme, because that creates rhythm, yeah? And there is repetition. And if you want, not as a student, maybe a future poet, it's good to know some aspects or some things about the structure of a poem to use this in the future. So what I meant is not that you're going to be experts. When I gave you all this information about the metrical pattern, but at least to have an idea that the way writers write. So basic things like what you said. Okay, stanza. What is stanza? This is important to know when you. Okay, I love the first stanza because of this, etc. Or I like the way that the lines rhyme at the end, rhyming. The word rhyming. Or that the line is not finished. Okay, run on line, for example. There's alliteration here. How the writer used the repetition of initial consonants. Wow, this takes time. You need a dictionary to find the appropriate words to write such a work of art. So mainly thinking about it, it's not you have to really read a lot of information to get the answers. No, basic things. That's why I use Ask2. Very easy to get. In fact, there is no freaking like a book. Well, in the book, there wasn't any separation, but since the idea is complete here in the middle, I assume that, in fact, this should be 2 stanzas, by the way, because there's a period here. But in the book, it appeared like that. Okay, other versions I saw that there were 2, so I don't know what to think there, but that's not the important thing. Okay, so that you recognize basic concepts like the stanza. Okay, this is a very short point of 1 or 2 stanzas. That's perfect. And we see,
now that you say it, I remember our trovadores that they sing the décimas here in Panama. They need to know the metrics of what they do because they must fit in the music.
They need rhyming words.
And metrics.
Yes, exactly. You're right. So that's not an easy task. I wouldn't dare to do that. Never, because they need to be fast in thinking. When it's freestyle, imagine. So there's also poetry there. So yeah, sometimes we need to know a little bit. Yeah. So I don't know, but it was also important to in that activity that, okay, by reading it, just by reading it, your first impression, your interpretation, what this writer is telling you. If you agree or not, I don't know, but it's like if you are maybe taking the point as your own, when you read it, you feel like it's also yours, the way you feel, similar to the author. So what was your first impression when you read it? This is something that you don't need to go to internet, to YouTube, to Google to find. No, just when you read it, what can you say? Any other, I don't know, any other participant? Feel free to say whatever you like.
If I'm free to say whatever, then I wrote something for you girls. I don't know if it's correct, but
don't be
maybe,
afraid. Don't be afraid. This happens with
yes.
our own students, that they
Thank
don't
you.
have to open their mouth because they think that maybe what they
Thank
say
you.
is wrong or incorrect, they mispronounced. No, it's okay.
I
Sit
wanted to write something, and because I'm really enjoying this course. I wrote this. I will give you a flower, and I will give you a kiss in a day of winter, so you can, well, so you can rest. Or I'm looking forward, so
So I see, Mr. Orlando, that you like the idea of writing poetry. Good. You feel free. You're not afraid. So that's perfect. That's the start. That's the start. Perfect.
That's the start.
But
Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, like
Thank
me,
you.
yeah, that's my start also. It's not that I don't consider myself a poet, but I would like to in the future. Yes, because I discovered the beauty in poetry. And so, but Mr. Orlando, with that specific poem, there's no frigate like a book. Frigate like a book. Frigate is a ship. Okay, there's no ship like a book. What is the message this writer's trying to convey here? What's she saying?
Me,
Yes, Karen.
Karen. Okay. I think there is no frigate like a book, so I think that the author here tried to transmit some feelings try to transmit some feelings, or the feeling that he feels each time that he reads a book. See, each time that he's reading a book, yes, he can go to many, because when we read a book, we can go to many places at the same time. Yes, we can visit. For example, me, I used to read a book that his name was Corazon. It was an Italian book, I think. And you don't have an idea the places that I know, but it was just reading, imagination flow away. So I think that this is the message that this author tried to transmit to the readers.
Yes, Karen.
Each time that we read,
got the point.
Okay, it's like we have the whole feelings, but different kinds of idea we're transmitting. So we are like concerning about something that maybe nobody know, or that maybe nobody can understand, that we as the writer, yes. Exactly. So it is very deep.
So what we've been talking about, what Orlando said at the beginning to in the previous session, yes, the benefits of reading literature, books, stories, poetry. She's telling you that because you can travel. So here we have the use of metaphor, simile, symbol. We have if I'm not wrong, I think alliteration. In fact, I have a very brief summary of the things that we can find there. I'm going to show you that in a moment. But it's the way she writes is so beautiful to tell you that it's a pleasure. The way you can feel when you okay, maybe you don't have money to travel, but then you can, with a book, you can travel with your imagination, because like in a movie and a book, it's not the same, because with the book, you use your imagination more than when you see everything in a film. So it's not the same. So here she give us comparison of I mean, different means of transportation, maybe. Okay, we have a sheep here. We also have a horse or horses. She compares this to horses, poetry to horses, prancing, prancing the horses when they move. And also comparing this to the last two lines, how frugal is the chariot that bears a human soul. So cheap, telling you that you don't need to spend money. So definitely you can read it several times, and every time you will realize how beautiful this poem is. How could she use those words to convey some meaning, powerful meaning, to convince us of the beauty of specifically poetry? Because we see here that she's telling us there's no friggin' like a book, so the book is the best thing. And also she's telling us that her love for poetry in the third and fourth line or verse here. Let me use this okay, that was a recommendation given by a friend, so before I forget it, thank you for that idea. Yes, so then you can see what I'm talking about. So yes, so here we see that she really loves poetry. That's why we have, well, she wrote like more than 8,800 poems. Only maybe 10 were published on one letter, imagine. And so ironic that Emily Dickinson, she wrote so much. She lived so isolated from her place, in her house, in her bedroom, and she could produce beautiful things. And it's ironic that after she dies is when we have access to her poems. Her sister found them, and that's why we can see them, we can read them today. And so I invite you, Emily Dickinson. I'm still reading poems written by her, and these poems they're really great, really great. I wanted to discuss this one. I'm Nobody, Who Are You? Here is involving the reader, okay, asking you, who are you? So, well, I won't analyze this one here today, but I would like to go to The Soul Selects Her Own Society, another poem that is so we have many figurative or let's say concepts or elements or devices that we can find here that enhance the interpretation of this poem. Let me see what else. I'm going to show you that very briefly. Look at this one. This is more or less what I did with the poem. There's no freaking like a book. Okay, there's a use of simile there, because simile and metaphor, they are comparisons, but simile is using the word like or as. So here we have a simile, and yeah, some vocabulary. I had to use a dictionary for to know the meaning of some words here, to have a better interpretation. So that's necessary with poetry, because these old famous writers, they use fanciful words, beautiful words that we don't use. So in this way, we are increasing vocabulary. So that is a perfect activity. Yeah. So look at this. We also have personification, because here's comparing the horses of the poetry, the page of the prancing poetry, like what the horses do, swift horses. So that's personification. We also have, okay, there's also rhyming here. Okay, we have we have a first line, a book, a way, Away and page, there's some similarity. Away. That's why it's important to know the pronunciation in order to see the similar sounds. So away, page. So here we see in the vowels, away, page. So possible assonance, and so on. What else is she's saying here that books are better than horses with high energy, ready and able to run. Horses can take us physically to new places like a frigate. These material things can take us to many places, but the imagination, when we read a book, when we read a story, when we read a poem, take us to imaginable places where the body cannot get. So, I hope that you enjoyed this one and analysis, and to use it in maybe introduction of a literature class to motivate students to see the importance of reading a book, of reading a poem, and then you can have a debate there or analysis or comment from your students, what they think about it, etc., etc. So themes, literary elements, using the yes.
Yes, excuse me. I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I'm wondering about the rhyme in this. I'm just seeing this now, but I'm wondering about the rhyme in this poem. I don't know if it's because one word was pronounced before in the past or what, because like away doesn't really sound the same as poetry as how I say it. In the second part, toll and soul, like they sound more similar, but I was wondering about away and poetry.
Wasn't it away and page?
But not necessarily you have to find rhyming in all the lines, at the end of all lines, not necessarily. That's why we have we add the rhyme scheme. That would be another term you could use in the analysis. Okay, here we have a rhyme scheme. Okay, you analyze the endings of each line. You find the similar sounds, and then you use the letters of the alphabet. Okay, if you have book, the first line book. Okay, if you find another similar ending, to have the same letter, A. So book.
Isn't it away and page?
No.
A?
So book will be A because that's the first word. Yeah? Book is A. Book is A. So then we have away, a different sound. So then that will be another letter of the alphabet, B, for the rhyme scheme. So A, B, book, away, because they are different. If we have a word that is similar to book, then we will say the A is repeated, A, but in this case, no. So book is A because the second line doesn't have any rhyming word there, so away will be B. But what happens when we go to page? Away, remember that you can have similarities in the consonants or in the vowels. So away and page, they are similar. Not the consonants, but the vowels, yes. So away and page, away, page, okay, we could say that this is B and B, B and B. And then poetry, there, nothing similar, so we could say that it's C. So we have A, B, B, C for that stanza. That is the rhyming scheme for that one. And so on with, if there were more stanzas, okay, the second one here, we have take, we have toll, we have chariots, we have soul. So immediately you know that toll and soul, they are similar. So that will be the same letter of the alphabet to mean that these are similar sounds. And then take, okay, if this is a new stanza, then we start with the alphabet. Okay, take would be A, toll would be B, chariot would be C, and soul would be B. Or if it's part of the first, it's just one stanza. If we say that, then we continue with different letters of the alphabet. So A, B, C, D, E, etc., etc. Okay. That is just for rhyming scheme. If you're asked, what is the rhyme scheme of this specific poem? Well, you see the endings, if they are similar, or even we could have internal rhyming here. Maybe in a line, we could have a word that could rhyme with the last. So everything is possible in poetry.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, another participant. Sorry. Okay, well, the literary elements, yeah, we can apply literary elements here besides poetic devices. For example, theme. Okay, here I have possible concepts that we can use for themes. Okay, the power of book. What can you say about the power of books? That is in real world, but it's also in the poem. Okay, so a book here. This is my sentence. Okay, it's my idea using the concept of books. So a book may take us where the body cannot. That's why I like this, because this makes the student think. Because they have, okay, maybe you can give them the concepts or the things, the possible things for a literary work, but then they have to create the rest. What about that concept? And there is where they need to think. And this is unique because they cannot think the same way. And you will see if they're really doing it by themselves or not. So, and that's why when we ask or request the theme of a story, of a poem, the students they have a hard time because they have to think. So if the power of books is a possible theme or concept we can use in this poem, okay, then what is the idea that you can develop in a sentence that is in real life, but also is seen in the poem? So a book may take us where the body cannot, and we see this clearly in the whole poem, which is telling us that we can travel anywhere with our imagination. So then you have to explain why you say so. Why you say so? Why you say that the book may take us somewhere wherever the body cannot. So, and then this great the analysis, the critical thinking. Okay, let's continue because I hope that you did a great work or analysis in the previous session. But relax, what you did is perfect. Okay. Let me go back. Let me go. And it wasn't there. Because I haven't finished with Emily Dickinson. I don't know if this is the first time that you know about Emily Dickinson. Maybe for some of you, no. Or maybe for the majority, this is the first time. It doesn't matter. I recommend her to read a little bit about her biography, to have more details about her life. For some people, they might say, oh, that was a sad life, to be isolated from the rest of the world in a bedroom, but writing, producing. Maybe you would think that she was sad, she felt alone, but maybe not. To write this kind of poetry, I don't think so. Because with poetry, one of the benefits is that you can escape. You can escape from problems. If you read or write, you can escape. And I know what I'm saying because I have tried, and it's true. You escape from the rest of the world. You forget problems. This relaxes you because you see that somebody like you so many years ago maybe felt the same way like you. So that's why literature is universal and so important. It doesn't matter the time. It doesn't matter the time. Everything applies to any time, even today. Okay, look at this one. The soul selects her own society. Yeah, I remember analyzing this poem as a student. Imagine. And then again, I see it with my student. And the title, because she never had titles for the poems. She didn't have titles. So the first line of the poems that were used, or even a number was given. Okay, so just take a minute to check. Yes, to check the information. Know what I've written there, please. Just look at the lines, just the lines. your own interpretation. Forget what I've written here. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but so trust yourself. Maybe you see something that I haven't seen, but just read the lines. That's why this one is very short, so it doesn't take that much time, different from the story that has several pages. But here, just look at the lines, the lines. The soul selects her own society. She's using figurative language, metaphor to have a comparison, okay? The soul selects her own society. What is she trying to tell you here? So the soul selects her own society. You see that she likes pauses, these lines, cesura, type of cesura. So the soul selects her own society, then shuts the door, and the door is capitalized. That's strange, yeah? Society, door, details, yeah? So observation, soul, society, door, capitalized, majority capitalized. So then shuts to her divine majority, present no more. To her divine majority, present no more. They are not there anymore. Another stanza. Unmoved, she notes the chariots. Chariots capitalized. Pausing at her low gate. Unmoved, an emperor be kneeling upon her mat. So mental picture here, when you read these words, definitely you imagine things. As soon as you read the word, you have your imagination activated. That is imagery. I've known her. So here we have the speaker, because I've known her from an ample nation. Maybe referring this her is referring to what? To who? To the soul? Okay, we need to have a sequence. I don't know, this interpretation. I know her from an ample nation, choose one. Choose one. Then close the bulbs of her attention like stone. Stone, mental picture, imagery. So if we go to the rhyming scheme, because we have rhyming words here at the end of each line of each verse. We have society as the first word, the first sound, society. Then we have the second line, we have door, so different sounds. That's why we have A for society and B for door. Remember, we use the letters of the alphabet for the rhyme scheme. So A, B, then majority, society, majority, society, they are similar sounds. So then we use the letter A to point out that they are rhyming words, the same rhyming words. And we also have B for more, door and more. I don't know you, but this is difficult. This is not an easy task. To find words that rhyme. That's why I love this type of poetry. More than freestyle. So I tried, I try to write, and it's hard. It's really hard. It's not easy. That's why I really like what she does here. Then the second stanza says, the second stanza or paragraph stanza, unmoved, she notes the chariots pausing at her low gate. So again, this is a new stanza. So we start with the letter A because we have pausing. So A here, pausing. We have gate, will be a different sound. So we have B, use B to represent that sound. And then we have unmoved, an emperor be kneeling. So kneeling and pausing, they are similar. In fact, written similarity to kneeling, pausing. So we have A, they're similar, A and A. Then we have mat. Mat is sound for the rhyming, you use the sound. So mat and gate, So the E is silent. So it's the T sound. So gates and mat. So consonants. And yes. Any comment?
Mat and gate. They don't rhyme.
The consonant sound, not the vowel sound.
Okay, I've never this is new for me, you know, because I'm looking for the same
It's
sound.
good. This is good to hear from you that it's new for you. Wow, that's great. So yes, gates, the last sounds is the consonant, gates and mat. Remember, for rhyming, not necessarily has to be vowel and consonant, both, no. It could be just the vowels or it could be just the consonants. In this case, the last sound is a T, so it rhymes with the last sound of mat, T.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, what else? Okay, so we have then the second AB, AB. So the same pattern for the first with the first stanza, okay? Because it says new stanza, okay? So we start with the first letter of the alphabet. If it were only one stanza, then we continue with the next of the letters of the alphabet. But in this case, since we have 3 stanzas here, we start in every stanza using the first letter of the alphabet, then the second, and so on. And I've known her from an ample nation. Choose one. I've known her. So maybe here, that's why this has to be read several times to get the ideas better, clearly. Yeah. In fact, I never realized of this line until today, this week, when she says, okay, I've known her, that her is really referring, if you follow the sequence, it's really referring to soul. She's talking about her soul. So I've known her from an ample nation. Choose one. What is the meaning of this? It means maybe choosing one is selecting, I don't know, a friend, or maybe a lover. Here we assume things. We don't know exactly. But maybe if I apply to my life, because this is universal, I give it another sense. Okay, maybe it could be a friend, a good friend, a best friend. Maybe it's not that easy. Okay, you cannot. Not everybody is your friend, so you select. Your soul selects. Not anyone, means special ones to be near you, to be close to you. So yeah, it applies to me also, and to any of you when you select friends, when you select a lover, or no. And then close the mental picture again. In the 3 stanzas, you have imagery, mental picture. Closing the door, imagine shuts the door, closing the door. Then we have a gate. Now we have a valve. So then close the valves of her attention. So you immediately imagine that moment, like a door closing, yeah. Like stone. So again, imagery. That's why I wrote here imagery. We also have simile here, the word like, because here she's comparing one thing with the other, like a stone. The valves of her attention like stone. Well, that is a comparison. And what else? Alliteration. We also find alliteration because she uses soul and then the verb select, and then society in the same line. So that is repetition of initial consonant sounds. That's alliteration. Initial consonant sounds. And of course, here the word soul, the soul is acting as a person. So that's called personification. The soul selects her own society. She's not saying that a person selects a friend. No, she's using the soul as if it were a person. So the soul selects her own society and so on. So that is a clear example of personification. A thing having human qualities or doing things that humans do. What else? What else here? Here we have a half rhyme, okay, because we have final consonants in gate and mat, what I mentioned before, yes. Okay, that's called half rhyme. Because the vowel sounds, no, it's in the consonant sound. That's why it's half rhyme. Because in other cases, we have the complete rhyming. We have vowels and we have consonant, but in this case, just the last consonant.
So whenever we have just, for example, just consonants, we call them half rhyme. It's not full rhyme. That's why it sounds like, well, as if it was not rhyming, because we don't have the A, I, da, 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 da. But you only have one consonant sound, so that's half rhyming.
Yes, excellent, very good. Yes.
Right.
And then
I wanted to say that probably, well, not necessarily, it depends. We know that rhyming, for example, we can have the end rhyme, which is very obvious in some other cases, for example.
Yes, we have end rhyme here too, because yes, it happens at the end of the line.
We have also middle rhymes in between the lines. And here, what I think that what creates the rhythm is actually metrics. The amount of syllables that she's using in the lines and verses she's using, more than a pattern of rhyming per se. That's my comment on here.
Yes, perfect. Yes, you're right. You're right.
I love her poetry. Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent too. And okay, here I also found here we have a metaphor. You know, metaphor. It's also a comparison, but you don't use like nor as, etc., etc. Okay, so here the comparison is direct. So close the vowels of her attention, and then we have a simile here. So it's like, just look at it as if having a game where you have to discover things when you read a poem. A video game where you have to go and if you are on maybe a trip and you have to discover objects, okay, it's like that. Look at it as if it were a game. Besides identifying or giving or trying to get the idea of the writer, what the poem is telling you, what you can learn from the poem too. Yes, what does it teaches you? What does it teach you when you internalize these words? I was saying, when I read this the first time, I said, okay, this is true. I'm like that too, because not anyone can be part of my life. Don't you think? You cannot have access to, give access to everything you have to anybody, and especially today. You have to be careful. And because then you can be in trouble. And this is something that, okay, nowadays with media, with this social media, for example, that everybody shares everything, what they have, what they're doing, what they are at a specific moment. So
okay, here I also have a comment on that interpretation about how the soul selects her own society, and it's talking on the female. It's her soul. It refers to her own condition as a woman, yes. Female. So we're talking here about a woman's soul, how effective, how delicate. See, so that's part of what the interpretation is, and also the concept of fitting. How do we fit in a person's or a society which is different to us, and in what way that can make us not, for example, be completely part of that society because we don't fit, because we are not alike, or not even having same traits or same thoughts of same lines of affection. See, so it's very particular, it's very special.
I think that it has to do with our human nature of who we are, and she knows really well who she is in the inside. So that's why she might not feel like fitting in everybody else, or which was the case, and that's why she kept for herself, and that's part of a personality.
Exactly.
Too. So yeah, I would think that selecting the society, it's soul's business, who we are as a person and how we feel, what our internal let's say condition, our nature itself, and that will help us then finding our place in life and in society itself. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, Belkis, beautiful. Bravo. Beautiful words. Exactly. You said it perfectly.
Miss
And
Anya, Miss
yes.
Anya, I have a question. Does it has to do with religion, because she speak about divine majority, and she at the end she ends with like so. I would like for you to give me your impression about those.
Okay, well, you have to, okay, this is an image, okay? Comparing that like a door, like a vault of her attention, when once that door is closed, it's like stones. I mean, so hard that you can't move it to open it.
So okay, it's like a little sad point.
Little sad. Well, I don't think so. What Belkis said was, I mean, her point of view was really good. Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, it's true. But
see
also,
when you speak about soul, well, you know, I understand that when you pass away, your soul, you know, thinking about soul, you're going to heaven or you're going somewhere after you pass away. But that's why I'm thinking that I don't know if she has some kind of sadness in her. I don't know.
well, it's your interpretation, Orlando, and I also accept that. That's the good thing about literature, about poetry. I mean, you can have one view, one interpretation. Becky has another, and so on. And this creates debate. This creates analysis. I say something, I respect what you say. You respect what I say, and that is the beautiful thing about analyzing literature. Yeah, giving your point, because well, this is what you saw. Maybe because you read it once. But maybe when you read it more times, maybe you get different other things, new things. Like me, I told you that when I read this part here, you really you need to have the sequence. Poetry, you need to read several times, not only once, in order to get a better view. It's necessary to read, because remember, this is in a short space, having these words arranged in a way. It's not like prose, like a short story. No, this is, but all of them are very hard. But this one, because of the limited space for that, requires expertise. Yes. So, well, in my opinion, I don't see it like that. Okay. Because okay, you need to know a little bit about the author too, because the authors are reflected in many of their works, and we see her life. She never got married, no kids, for example, and then you might say, oh, sad girl, so sad, she didn't have a family. Well, we don't know. There are people who prefer to or choose to live like that. Maybe the world surrounding her wasn't ready for her, so she preferred to be in her own world, because maybe people wouldn't understand her. And as Becky said, in that time that she wrote, well, still women were not so important or taken into consideration so seriously as men. Well, all this could affect, yeah.
Right, you are on the right point. We have here, and that's why I started by
by saying female role. Why? And the female soul. Because by that time, females, we were given or assigned a specific role. So her, let's say her future or her what she was supposed to do in life was to marry, have kids, have a home, and just to raise a family. But her role was very different because of the expectation of other people's, and she was not fitting in that self. And actually, and that's why we need to learn or to read and investigate about the authors of poetry, readings, or whomever we are studying, so that we can understand, interpret their work, their production. In her case, she was she had a romantic disappointment, and she was about to marry, and she didn't marry because the man would not feel the commitment, fulfill the commitment. And because of that, then she closes that, let's say, romantic life or expectations of a woman. So she, as a woman, so she dedicated herself to go within and to explore herself, and to put into words, and to have leaps of flights of thoughts. And that is where her poetry came from. And then we can understand why she was this keeping herself to this inner life she had. She was at not point sad. That's how she decided to live her life. Thank you.
Exactly. Wow, Belkis, thank you. I see that you like Emily Dickinson. Yeah, her poetry. Good. Okay, well, you see, I didn't plan this. I planned to have more than 3 poems, and then I decided 3. And right now, I think we don't have that much time for this section of my presentation, because I have, let me show you quickly. We need to do, but it's good that you have this. I giving you some information here that you can, that I'm gonna share this PowerPoint so you can meditate, you can read, you can, because with poetry, we could have perfectly 1 week, as you see. 1 week, a seminar just based on poetry. Imagine there are so many things that we can do with poetry. So I need to move because, okay, oh, I just have half an hour. I need to go to the second part of this session. Look what I wanted to show you, what I wanted to do today in this part of analysis. I had other 2 poems. Okay, okay, I wanted to talk about Shakespeare, this one that is very famous, Sonnet 73, that time of year, that amazing me behold. Even I had a video where to listen to somebody reciting the poem because in YouTube you find everything. So you can because of the certain words, the pronunciation maybe they could be hard even to identify the rhyming. So it's important then to get the correct pronunciation. Well, I have some interpretation here. For example, the metrical pattern here. Well, this could take like 40 minutes maybe discussing this, debating what he really meant here in this sonnet of 14 lines. Here's the rhyming scheme, and that is for the Shakespearean sonnets. All the poems, they have Shakespeare poems, Shakespearean sonnets, they have the same rhyme scheme. You can explore because there are like 150 something sonnets, Shakespearean sonnets. So they have they follow this pattern of this rhyming scheme. And here we have metaphor, we have alliteration, we could have we have 14 lines, we have three quatrains, meaning that there are 4 lines in each quatrain, and then a couplet having 2 lines that is like a conclusion, depending on the arguments that are given in the first quatrains, etc., etc. And it would be great to debate, okay, what's he meaning? Because this is something that we we also might think, okay, the process, or yeah, the cycle of life. We're born, we grow, we become adults, but there a time is coming that we cannot avoid. That is death, life. So this is a topic of life versus death, the theme. And here with the theme, you could have different ideas using these concepts and so on. But unfortunately, this will take a lot of time. And well, so here I also have a video to have somebody recite the poem in with British accent. And so it's there. I'm gonna share it. So when you have some time, you can take a look at it, watch it, and continue the analysis. I know that I wanted to show you because I need to go to haikus, and this is the activity that you will have to present something. So that's why it's important to go there. Okay, look, Robert Frost, another important writer. I wanted to discuss Dust of Snow, Fahrenheit. This one is also beautiful to meditate. The road's note taken, because in life, maybe we have to decide to take life. Sometimes the majority take the most traveled one, because maybe it's the easiest one, the one you feel comfortable, but then just a few take the less traveled, maybe the more complicated one, where you have to innovate. I don't know. There's no a lot of help for if you take that section or that road, etc., etc. So this is there. Meditate them in your free time when you have a chance, and it's really good. It's really good to analyze yourself. Okay, which way you are taking in life, etc., etc. Okay. This was the other look, a different view, another woman from Puritanism, the first settlers in America when they came from England. So also very famous. I think she was the first poet to be published, a woman at that time, the Puritan period in America. So her view of love, of marriage, would have been very interesting to know, to compare the two views. To my dear and loving husband, and I also included to compare the original plus maybe what she meant in her own language, today's language, to have a better understanding, because at that time, yeah, the language maybe some students say, okay, it's not that really easy to understand, to analyze. Well, here I also gave you the another version or summary of the lines, what she meant there. It's also a beautiful poem, a beautiful view. I respect her, the way she sees love in a marriage. Okay, I also have this famous, this is an actress. I also have the video where she recites the poem. Okay, we don't have time for that, but it's also there. It's also there, and I also include it. It's good that I included it, because I didn't think that I will have time for everything. Wait, what happened? Oh. Okay, here, look. I also included there my analysis here. Things like I have read that I have included here. And well, the rhyme scheme also. This is only one stanza of 12 lines. And here's the rhyme scheme that I found, the pronunciation here at the end of the words. Something important to point out is that, yes, I'm gonna put it here. This word is not, maybe we will say persevere. The word will be persevere, but in this case, persevered pronunciation on the 17th century. So that's important too, because maybe when you try to find the similarities in sounds, maybe you say perceiver, perceive, maybe you will have trouble. But at that time, that was the pronunciation in order to have F here, persever and ever. So they rhyme. That's why it's F. And well, some comments. It's in iambic pentameter because here I included the pattern of on stress, stress, on stress, stress, on stress, because that creates the rhythm. If ever two were one, then surely we will. So that is pentameter because it's the stresses here. They are they're repeated 5 times. So this structure is repeated 5 times. That's why it's penta, meaning 5. And iambic because every unit start with on stress and then stress, so on. Here the themes is marriage, wealth, and desire. But the way she describes her love for her husband at that time, it's really beautiful. Maybe you agree or maybe not, the way she expresses here, but that doesn't have the beauty of the way she writes. The beauty of the way she writes, her comparisons, the metaphors, how she compares her love for her husband. Imagine that all the riches that the East doth hold, that there's no comparison, not even those riches, or all the mines of gold that exist to not be compared to her, to the way she prizes the love of her husband. So we have hyperbole because there is exaggeration in the way she describes her love, and so on. So it's beautiful. This is something that we see in American literature, in the course of American literature, and we start. This is the beginning, almost at the beginning of the course. Yes, we talk about this poem because it's
Tanya,
yeah.
excuse me. There are some participants who would like to hear you reading it. Would you like to do that?
Me reading it.
Would you please would you delight us with your amazing voice reading the poem?
My voice, there's a much better voice here that there's much better voice here that I prepared, that I included. This voice is
No, we want to hear you.
That will be if there is time, Hania. I mean, don't feel pressure because I mean, I know that there is no time. Yeah.
There's no time because I haven't started with haikus, and that is a part of the activity for the afternoon.
Okay, I understand.
So I don't know. Well, to go faster, what I can do, because it's only a minute and something. Let me see. Let me see if I can. No, there's a problem with that's why I asked, because I wanted to share the well, I don't know, I cannot, but
Well, are you there?
Yeah. Yes.
Because I mean, the host has to give you the I think there is where it says compartir pantalla. No, there is a part that says show. I mean, share audio, but I don't know where it is. Actually, that's why I'm calling Joel. Well,
because I'm sure if I go out, then I have to share the screen again for that video, and then that's why I included it in the PowerPoint. But
anyway, you will be able to see it in the PowerPoint. You just have to access the assignments that she's going to send, and you will access the link. You just click there.
The link, everything is there. Everything is there just in case. So yes, I really appreciate you have some time and you read it. It's really beautiful. And the use of metaphor here, hyperbole, that is exaggeration, alliteration, repetition, because here we have if ever, 3 times. So that is called repetition and so on. So definitely it's a work of art.
Anya, it has to be, the title has to be changed.
Sorry?
The title of that poem has to be changed in my case. It should be To My Dear and Loving Wife instead of
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, but I mean, you could also use it in the opposite way. Yeah, nowadays, for example, nowadays a husband giving beautiful words like this to the wife. Wow, I know we still have romantic people. Romantic people. She was very romantic. She loved her husband so much. I mean, to write this way and to brag about it, because here's also say compare it with me, you women, if you can, so say, hey, this is a great marriage. So really, yeah, I will have like to have enough time to see this one, because we could have even an hour of discussion with this poem. So, and this perfectly exemplifies the benefits of reading, the benefits of literature, the benefits of poetry, analysis of poetry, because this is critical thinking. And we saw it in the first poem that I show you. Some of you, yeah.
Excuse me, just to give you an additional idea.
Yes.
Example, you mentioned if ever, if ever, if ever. This is something that we call in literature an anaphora, repetition.
Yeah. That's an anaphora or repetition, yeah. Any of the two, yes. You're right. Thank you, dear colleague. Okay, so sorry, my dear participants, I couldn't discuss the last two poems as I planned due to time, but it was great to have your participation. Okay, so here I have these that you can go back. This poet also fabulous, one art. I like this one art. It's very famous that even in movies have been used in Her Shoes. That movie I recommended, In Her Shoes, with Cameron Diaz, I think. Yeah, this poem is mentioned and analyzed. Okay, the meaning of that poem, one art. The art of losing isn't hard to master. So if you have a chance to watch that movie, okay, well, you know that Elizabeth Beach was so famous in this particular poem, so recognized. There you have it. Yeah, then William Shakespeare, the sonnet that was also beautiful. Okay, and then we are here. Okay, haikus. Well, this is very simple. This is very simple. With this, you are going to write. With this, you're going to write. You can create. Believe me, if I created here my own haikus, it means that you can do it too. Yes, so believe, don't be afraid, because this is very short. You see some examples that I included. I have because the origin is Japanese. This is Japanese poetry. Okay, or haiku, haikano, food. Maybe that's why it's haiku. So it means like verse, light. You see that it's very short, just 3 lines, only 1 stanza. But there are also variations in English, variations that you can have even more than 1 stanza if you want it. But then the original haikus, yes, they don't rhyme. Not necessarily they don't rhyme. The translation, or maybe haikus in English, they rhyme. They rhyme, but it's not necessary to rhyme. It's not obligatory that they have to rhyme. But it's beautiful to see some rhyming, yeah, in English. Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, so it says Japanese form of poetry that puts great emphasis on traditional evoking images of natural world. So you can use nature, you can use fruits, vegetables, animals, or if feelings, if you want love, talk about love in just 3 lines. But the important thing about haikus is that the structure, they only have 17 syllables. That's why you have to be careful. Yesterday or on Monday, somebody said that I had a poem that I could use for the, and I said, oh, you have to wait for the instruction, because here you have to count syllables. You have to count syllables. 17 syllables for this poem. So it says, okay, it consists of 17 syllables divided into 3 units or lines of 5, 7, and 5. The first line is 5 syllables in total, then 7 syllables, the second line, and then 5 syllables, the last line. In total, you have 17 syllables. So look at it as again, following the pattern. So as I said, the original haiku doesn't rhyme, but an English version sometimes do. And okay, here we have this one called Old Pond, translated from the original Japanese haiku. This one, imagine trying to understand this one. I don't want to even pronounce it because I don't know the pronunciation for Japanese words, but here a translation of that one. Okay, Old Pond, frogs jumps in, waters sound. So these haikus are full of imageries because you read the words and you immediately you imagine things. So Old Pond, you imagine a pond, frog jumps, imagine a frog jumping in. So frog jumps in, waters, sound. So wow. Okay, so the writer uses images here constantly. Another one, if only we could add a handle to the moon, it would make a good fan. Imagine the moon. You could add a handle to the moon to transform into a fan in just 3 lines. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure if has a 17 syllables since it's a translation. Then fallen petals rise. I love this one. It says fallen petals rise. Imagine petals. Okay, fallen petals rise back to the branch. I watch. Oh, butterflies. So the petals were really butterflies flying. You know? So beautiful imagery for butterflies, like petals rising. Then river in summer. River in summer. River in summer. Okay, seasons here. Nature, river. So rivers in summer, there's a bridge. Imagine the bridge. There is a bridge, but my horse walks through the water. But my heart walks through the water. There was a bridge there, according to this, but the horse preferred to go through the water. Refreshing, yeah. In summertime, so not a bridge, but the river is better than the water. So beautiful. Look, oh look, there go. Look, oh look, there go. Look, oh look, there go. Okay, in fact, the translation has, that line has 5 syllables. Look, oh look, there go. 5 syllables there in that line. So the translation has the 5 syllables. Maybe in the original language, no, not like that. But in the translation, yes. Okay, 5 syllables. Fireflies, I would like to say. So the 7 syllables. But I am alone. 5 syllables. So that English translation has the 17 syllables. The 17 syllables. We have rhyming. Let's see. Go, say, alone. Maybe we can have rhyme here. Okay, with the vowel. Okay, but remember, it's not obligatory to have rhyming, but of course, rhyming is always beautiful. To find poems that rhyme is always beautiful. So maybe it's not, for some of you would say it's not that easy because it's poetry. You have to have creativity, imagination to create this. But you'll see, it's possible. You see, it's possible. I'm gonna share. Let's see. I'm gonna share the link. Let me see where I have. Oh, let me show you this one first. Here's my work. This is what I do with, I mentioned it before. I do it with my students, like with the fables. I also, well, this is my drawing for my students. I did it, I invented it. It's my creation, my garden, because it's something that I lived since the pandemic, by the way. Yes, so the pandemic, what is the word? Motivated me to create. I never thought I could do it, and I did it. So it's possible. So My Garden by Nia. Nia is me, my poetic name. Okay, Splendor's Garden, because it's my backyard. During the pandemic, I have that just access to remember that we were in quarantine and so on. And so I just had access to my garden. And then I started checking my garden, everything that was happening in my garden. So Splendor's Garden, Splendorous Garden, yes, the 5 syllables. Refuge of plants and creatures, so the 7 syllables. And nature blessing. So 5, I have the 17 syllables, and the others, yes, they follow the same pattern, because that was my example to my students. Remember, we are always models. We have to start first in order to guide our students. Yeah, if you do it, they see that you do it, they feel motivated to try to. And I also did my drawing, my beautiful drawing. That was my drawing. I'm not really an expert on this, but I try. But my students surpassed me. I mean, their talents, they put effort in drawing beautiful things. Some examples of their works, but well, we don't have time here. But they really felt motivated, and then they made an effort. And but you need to be careful, because it happened to me. Some students tried to cheat with the poems, and so it's better to do it in the class. If you assign it to the house as homework, no, then this will happen for sure. And now with artificial intelligence, be careful. Yes, because there are students that they like to take the common travel roads, like in the point of the road not taken. So be careful with this. So you see, it's possible. I did it. I never thought I could do something like this. So, well, my 3 haikus. I have 3 haikus. They could do different haikus if they wanted. Well, different drawings here on the page, but in my case, I did the 3 were related to my garden. So like a poem, using 3 haikus to have a complete poem. And well, let's see. Okay, that was the PowerPoint, but let me share the link. The link is gonna be in Zoom. Wait. In chats, I'm gonna share the chat. In the chat, I'm gonna share the link again that I shared last time. Is there waiting for you? Now it's ready. So with that link, we have 10 minutes. Oh my goodness, quite a rush. There you have access to, let me share the other part. So new share. Let me see if this one, or is this one? Maybe it's this one. Are you there?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Oh, where is it? Now so with the link, you go there. Where did I? Okay, it's here. Can you see this?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Haiku. Haiku.
Yes, that is the same Padlet that I divided in 2 parts. It's also possible with this. I recommend this. This tool that I learned in a seminar about technology, about apps and these things. So I recommend it. I've been using since then this one with my classes, and I can have everything there. I can have everything there. So you see the first time, part 1. Some of you remember the Menti activity. And then the other that had your comments about poetry, well, definition, well, here, I read your participation here that time, okay, 2 days ago. And look, it's there. And then the second part or section, here it is. I have 2 haikus. I have this one. I also created this one in my class with my students about music, because music is also very important to me, music. And this also happened during the pandemic, because I realized the benefits of listening to bossa nova, to instrumental music, to relax, because we were here I was here in my house without going out. So I found the benefit of having music to calm, to relax. And so definitely, so here I have my haiku about music. So music, that's the name for the haiku. Calming melody, the 5 syllables. So lucky I found you here. Cool jazz in YouTube, because I used YouTube the whole day, many times to relax time. Okay. Somebody, oh, Lucy, you are participating. Wow. So here students can enter and write whatever you ask them. Okay, like what Lucy did. Perfect, Lucy. Your own haiku. Perfect. So it must be yours, like Lucy's, like mine, because trust yourself. You can do it. You can do it. And so I also had this one about fruits. Remember, haikus could be about anything. It could be about nature, animals, food, whatever you want, feelings, etc., etc. And I had this one about fruits. Okay, I wrote fruit party, and then passion fruit, mango, juicy, delightful. Oh, what a craving! And then I asked them to have a picture to represent that haiku, because that was an online course during the pandemic. Imagine, yeah. So I asked them to do that in this case. And then the second one that I created here, I asked them to add the second line, the 7 syllables. So then they participated. I started with green watermelon, and then ended with refreshing body imagery, a green watermelon, you know, for your thirst, refreshing water. So they have to create the second line. Oh, I saw that Enelda participated last time with, but Enelda, now you have to remake it, because it's with 7 syllables, and there you don't have 7 syllables. So Enelda, you have the chance here to improve it. Here you can also edit what you do. So then you add your second line, second verse, and this is for all of you to participate, because it's like practice for your final words. So participate. Remember, you have to count. Let me give you a suggestion of a site that I found that could help you. Let me see what I put it. That helps you count syllables, because sometimes in English it's not that easy, like in Spanish. And where you can, let me see where I have it. I know that I don't know where I put it. Let me find it and I will give it to you. I will share it. A site where you just write the words, and that gives you the number of syllables. So when you are writing your haikus, then you can check words if they to have the pattern correctly. Okay, so there you can participate. Get the link, have the link, because you need it to continue. And then you can have comments even to my own haikus here. You can have your comments, right? If you like it or not, or just write yours and share it to the class. It's going to be taken into account for the final activity. And what else? I also have one example of what I did with my students. let me show you here, because you can also include here in Padlet, you can include documents, Word documents, whatever you want, videos, and it's shown in different ways, the way you want, because you can have changes here, the way you want the information to be visible to the students. So it's a great tool. It's a great tool.
Excuse me, Hania. Sorry to interrupt. Is the link that you were referring to, is it called manythings.com? I'm sorry, manysyllables.com?
No, but there are many sites you can use, but the one that I was using is now that I have so much paper here with me, I don't find it. But I promise you that I will share it.
All right, because that one, manysyllables.com, is also useful for that.
I think I don't know, it's howmanysyllables.com, I think. The one that I'm using.
Yeah, how many syllables?
Okay, that's the one. Yes, it's a great one.
Professor,
I recommend it.
There is just all your tasks will be just in Padlet. Is it the same link than yesterday?
Yes, it's the same one, exactly.
Because it's the same task, I can see, yes.
Yes, yeah.
We have to go there and do the haiku, and that's the task for today.
Exactly. But I'll give you the instruction.
And the link in the platform, please. Could you do it?
To include it? Oh, yes.
Yes, the link of the Padlet there, just with like one or one line of instruction if you want, but I need the link.
But the link in the Padlet is in the chat box.
Okay, let me look for. Thank you.
Yeah, it's there. I share it there. So this is why your one document that I included in the Padlet that is evidence of what I did with my students online. And look, they really love the activity. They really love the activity. So I started with the fruit party. One example, my example first. I work with my students. I don't assign things to do, and no, I also work with them, and I all the time I start with my own work first. So here I have what they did. Look, they really like. They completed my. Oh, somebody is writing. Okay, so this is what they did. What they did here. They own haikus. Look, I remember once a girl telling me that this was really meaningful for her because her poem was dedicated to her grandmother. I think she was about to cry, and then my goodness. Yes, feelings involved there. And she said that she felt so great after she wrote this to her grandmother. And it was a beautiful poem in a haiku. And there was emotion, feelings in those words that she used. So this could be therapeutic. So this could help you. This helps. I'm telling you, I did it, and it really works. So try. Then you will get problems, whatever is happening, and you concentrate on this, and then definitely it's like escape, a way out. And look, they really enjoy that. They really enjoy. Look, how many examples here, and their works. That's why their names are there, because these are their own haikus. You see. And then this was the other group that I had. They have it here. Okay, well, basically this one. So you see, there's evidence of what they did, and they really, and it's easier even with and I don't know, elementary school, higher maybe, or to complete maybe a haiku, to ask them one line to complete it like what I did. Or if it's high school, then you ask them to write one, or university, it doesn't matter the age, because it's only 3 lines, 17 syllables. And you give them the link where they can count the syllables of different words. And it's something to be done in the classroom. So you can help them, guide them, and make sure that they are doing it. Yes. Oh, well, 12 to my dear participants. Sorry, we didn't have much time for for more things. I also wanted to talk about other aspects that, I mean, the benefits, but I mentioned them, just a few of them, like it helps you get vocabulary. Poetry helps you with vocabulary. I said escape, develops your critical thinking, etc., etc., like any other genre of literature. So all of them are important and essential. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Let me stop sharing them.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay, wait. Where do I see? Oh, I'm lost. Stop share. Okay, I'm here now.
Good, excellent. Do we have any question or comment that, here there is a question. The link is here. It won't be able to see it once the meeting is over. What is the link?
What in my link? The link in Padlet?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, well, I can share it again, but I can share it. Okay, let me.
Or probably could it be
There,
shared on
yeah.
Classroom? Maybe.
You see it now?
Yes, I think it's better.
Yeah, but Shannon, yes. Yeah, it's also there. Yeah. 11:50. I shared the link, and now again. Yes, it was there. So, my dear colleagues, participants,
I'm sorry. The thing is that it's in here. It's in this chat. So when this meeting is over, we're not going to be able to
that's
get
why
it. So maybe if you
can copy the link.
I saw it at 11 some whatever, whenever you posted it. But the thing is that once the class is over, we won't be able to access it. So
that's why. Yeah,
that's why we were asking if you could just put it.
But in Classroom, in Google Classroom, I can share it too.
Yeah.
Again.
Okay. That's it.
Yes, I'll give you everything. Yes, we are here to share.
Thanks.
Beautiful. Any comment, question, last announcement?
Excuse me.
Okay, go ahead.
The link to Classroom, please, because I can't find it here. Can someone send the link to Classroom?
I think they sent it to us via email. So
Email.
I think, yeah, you need to check your email.
Okay.
And then you have to like add yourself to the classroom.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you very much, Professor Hania, for all your knowledge as always. Great job. We're learning a lot with you. We remember some things too. And well, that's incredible how poems and metrics and all those things that maybe are different, all of us can make us a little different and have different kinds of meanings about just 3 lines or a short paragraph. Yes, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen, for your words. I hope that whatever I share, I will help you in the future to wake up the poet you have within.
Yeah, you can come back soon, Anya. You did a great job.
I'm just starting with this, yeah, I need to continue. Yeah, growing, because I discovered the beauty in poetry.
Well, thank you very much. No questions, no comments. It's time for lunch. Do we have any announcement, Professor Maris? Or the
Well, just well, we have had a long journey today. Wow, there is so much to learn. Just remember to do your assignments because they have to be ready by Saturday. Remember that our speakers have to send you their comments and everything. So please do your assignments. We're going to be posting the link again. So just check that you have it. All right. And then be here tomorrow early, please, because some of you accessed a little bit late and you were not able to listen to the first part, even though Professor Orlando made an effort to repeat everything. You see, but there is so much content and that sometimes it is difficult to repeat, you see.
Yeah.
Like what happens, Professor?
What I said, yes.
Yeah.
We could have on one genre per week, I think, in a seminar.
A poetry seminar, that's a good idea. I will take you by your word, Professor.
No.
No? Give me a break. Okay, then. Well, God bless you all. Remember to be here early. See you tomorrow. Thank you. And the yeah.
Thanks for your attention and participation. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the
All right. See you tomorrow. Have a wonderful and
Lourdes,
amazing
Hania,
afternoon.
Glorita.
Bye bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
please
Bye.
stay.